This season kind of sucks. I think that's the consensus most anime YouTubers have come to, and rightfully so. I think summer 2017 has been a particularly weak season when it comes to anime starting in this season, hence why I've been focusing so much on My Hero Academia lately. But there are still a few hidden gems, and today we're talking about the one that has come to the forefront of the anime community in the past few weeks, Made in Abyss. The show is pretty interesting and does a very good job building their characters, building drama, and even maintaining strong pacing. But today we're talking about what this show does best, and that is world building. Now, anime is actually well known for being particularly good at this. I think most anime take the idea of world building fairly seriously and do a pretty good job of it. But honestly, Made in Abyss is just some of the best world building I've seen, and I really want to talk about it. Well, either way, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's start by breaking down and explaining what exactly world building is. World building is popular among fantasy and sci-fi writing. Generally speaking, world building is the idea of building a universe with rules and laws that doesn't actually exist. Think of something like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. Both universes have a different set of rules that govern them, but I think that's all pretty self-explanatory when it comes to world building. So let's go ahead and focus on one of the lesser known parts of world building, and that's the fact that it doesn't have to be sci-fi or fantasy. World building can take place on an island, a town, or even a school. So let's talk about another show that wouldn't come to mind when talking about world building. Silver Spoon. The show takes place in modern-time Japan at an agriculture school. No magic, no force, just modern-day Japan. So does this anime world build? The answer is yes. One of the major processes of world building is creating recognizable locations that are reoccurring. Things like the stables or the brick oven. The show establishes the layout of the school, then brings the characters to those places multiple times and teaches us the spatial relation between them, thus building the world for us. Now, I do want to clarify that trope locations do not count as world building. I see a lot of anime try to pull this off by having characters meet at the train station or the beach, but in essence, this is just a lazy way of getting out of building your world. Instead of establishing their own unique locations, they use basic locations most people know of, but don't give us any idea of its purpose or its spatial relation to the rest of the world. Anyway, so that's enough of me ranting, so let's get back to talking about Made in Abyss. The world building in Made in Abyss falls into the fantasy spectrum, which gives it a lot of creative freedom that I feel the creators used wisely. So I want to talk about the 3 different features that the show uses to help build their world. A distinctive city with purpose, the rules of governance, and the relevance of the world to the story. So let's start with the world itself. Right in the first episode, we are shown this incredible city. The city itself is distinctive, circling around the abyss. It's explained that the city was strictly built to mine the abyss, thus giving the city meaning. The reveal for the city is both gorgeous and intelligent, showing us prominent locations that will be reoccurring throughout the next few episodes, like the orphanage and windmill. Another detail I would just like to point out is the backstory Regu tells to get inside the orphanage. He says he's from the Wharf Quarter, which actually becomes a relevant location later in the anime, which is some pretty impressive attention to detail. This is just a case of a well-built world. Everything is connected, and anything with meaning is never only mentioned once. So let's move on and talk about the anime's rules of governance. These are basically the rules of the land, both enforced by law and nature. Let's start by discussing the man-made laws and move into the laws created by nature. The world builds an awesome system following the symbol of a whistle. The color of your whistle influences how deep you can go into the abyss. From red to blue, to purple, to black, then finally white. This is an interesting design because we get to understand where exactly our characters stand in the world having red whistles, i.e. the lowest tier. As for the rules of nature, the deeper you go into the abyss, the harder it is for you to come back up. Earlier levels give you only nausea, while specific levels are likely to kill you. These rules are strictly enforced with the characters, giving them meaning, and adding to the story, leading me to my final point. How the world affects the narrative. Most shows can write some quick magic system or arbitrary set of rules for the show, but rarely do these rules or worlds have any sort of effect on the narrative. The world itself in the anime drives the narrative forward. The show is about exploring the depths of the abyss, and the world directly affects our characters' motivations. The characters revolve around the abyss. They make their living there. Our main character's mother lived/died in the depths of it. Riko was literally born in the abyss, which ended up permanently affecting her eyesight. There are countless times where the abyss directly influences or changes the narrative. This is where the show really shines. They built this intricate world with a unique set of rules, and they actually follow them. This leads to this incredible world being more so of a character in the anime versus just being a pretty backdrop. Either way, Made in Abyss is an example of an anime using world building to its fullest potential. If you haven't seen Made in Abyss yet, I highly recommend it. The world building in it is obviously top notch, but it also does a lot of other things incredibly well. Speaking of which, I'm curious, what shows do you guys think has the best world building? I figured this would kind of be a neat question because there are a lot to choose from, and I'm interested to hear your opinions. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. As usual, make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys stay man, go watch that goddamn anime!